the position of my hips is important too. I can't have my hips out too far. If my hips are out too far, there's too much space, I'm going to have a tendency to be pulled forward here by Colby and going down. On the other hand, if my hips are too close in, if I get a hip pop, I'm going down. So, your hips have to be somewhere in between, and this is something just you develop by experience, but I'm trying to bring these points up so that you can become conscious of them and practice them. But it's somewhere in between, but you need to be able to keep good contact with your chest against your opponent's leg. Now with my head doesn't want to be low on his hip. It wants to be up on his side, sort of love handles here, right here. It's important that my visual attention is directed that way. I want to keep my eyeballs looking that way. I'm going to try typically to finish initially, that's my finish is going in this direction. I don't want to be looking that way. I won't push hard, nearly as hard and as effectively as if I direct my visual attention that way. And that's important because a lot of people make a mistake, especially when learning a double. I see them kind of looking away, sometimes even squinting their eyes a little bit and looking. If you're going in that direction, even if you're going that way, why would you be looking that way? You want to be looking in the direction you're going, either straight if I was going straight, or more typically at an angle. And so I want to keep my visual attention directed that way. The next thing I want to mention is, come on up. The next thing I want to mention is, while it's critical to keep both arms very tight on the leg, ultimately, this far leg is what's really crucial. Now, when I'm in this position here, say I just shied in and I got stuck, boom, he kind of hipped into me and we're kind of fighting here. I want to keep this very tight. I want to look in this direction. I want to kind of bump a little bit to try to keep the weight on this foot. Okay? And don't go down. I want to keep the weight on this foot. That's important because he can defend against me best against a double leg if his weight is on this foot. If his weight's on this foot, I'm in very unfavorable position. It's very difficult for me to fight and to recover here. I'm going against a brace and a frame. Just stay right there, Colby. I'm going against his frame, which is supporting me in this direction. I'd much rather be tripping him up, driving like this against his frame. Or not against it, but more like with it. I'm trying to pop it out here. So, when I shot in, immediately I try to transfer the weight, even if I don't get his foot off the ground. It's critical I can transfer the weight, or at least most of his weight, to this foot. Okay, that's going to be a kind of a root position. By doing that, what I'm going to do is make it difficult for him to move. And I want you to think of the double when you get stuck down in this way. I want to make it hard for him to be mobile. Because the more mobile he is, the more likely he's going to have more options to defend against my attack. I can make him less mobile by not just pulling my chest, not just pulling his legs in, pushing my chest in, controlling his legs this way, but also controlling his legs by driving down. Why? If I can put more weight on his legs, it makes it much more difficult for him to adjust. And when I try to chop, which is going to be my first finish, it's going to be more difficult for him to catch up, and more likely that I'll be able to overrun him. So, I've transferred the weight to this far leg, and I may have this foot up slightly, or it may not be up, but I really try to transfer the weight. Now from here, I want you to think, I'm not just pulling in like this, we talked about that, that's weak. I want to be in deep as I can. I want to be sucking my chest into him and using my lats in my chest, but I'm also corkscrewing down with my arms here. Okay? I'm also corkscrewing down with my arms. And what that's going to do is just going to help a little bit more weight, or put a little bit more weight on his leg, which will make it more difficult for him when I try to drive through to be able to recover his position. Now, there are two different ways you can think about finishing a double. One is for me to go straight through Colby so that he goes down. Okay? It's one line of motion through him. The other way of thinking about a double is for me to go my initial attack through him and then change directions by tapping a leg or a knee and driving him slightly to the side. Now, with regard to martial arts, by driving through, get me in guard, I risk guard position. Now, if I've got a particularly strong or devastating double, maybe that doesn't make all that much difference. But the bottom line is that this is a vulnerability to just a straight double, particularly if you're talking submission wrestling or mixed martial arts where a person may get you in the guard. Generally speaking, then, I think it's probably better to think about trying a double leg takedown by coming in straight and then changing your angle of attack to avoid the guard. I do this by attacking a double, and I'll do it slow. I come in here, I drive, I come through. Now, immediately upon making contact, I change direction. I want you to notice that with this hand here, I'm going to drive. When I drive through, I'm going to change the angle of my body. This arm stays very straight and maintains contact with his leg so that I can avoid his guard. And here, I drive to the side, I make him pop up. And you'll notice here, I don't care whether my back is facing him right now. He can't choke me or anything. I'm not in any real danger. I'm only going to be here for a split second. But you'll notice, if he tries to get me in the guard now, I can just keep this arm straight and come out to the side. So, as I attack the double, I'm in tight, I'm pushing, I'm looking. Now, as I chop and I'm driving at about a 45-degree angle, watch the shoulder. I drive, and I'm going to drive the shoulder right into my opponent. This shoulder is going to be on top of his lower part of his abdomen or hip here, from here. This arm is straight, and that's going to prevent his knee or his leg from popping through and getting me in guard. Then I'm just going to change direction here, and I'll be to the side. I lower my level. I've attacked in. Bang, I come in here. I drive. I'm driving to this position here. This stays straight. If he tries to bring his knee up, doesn't matter. You'll notice my shoulder is right in this pocket here. Right here. My arm is straight. It's not bent. My arm is straight this way. Notice the more I turn my arm, the more I'll be kind of poking him like a ball and socket in that little pocket there. Yeah? Position. So I'll be in here. This way. Now, am I down here? No. If I'm off of his body, if my body's not on his, he's on top of me. But I want you to notice here, as long as I stay in this pocket, if he tries to scoot away, scoot away. I keep the weight on him. I keep this shoulder in this pocket. If he moves, I adjust. You just become sensitive to that. So, this arm is straight. I want to show you what happens if I bend the arm, though. If the arm is in here and bent, this is not going to be as good, because if I bend it, he's maybe going to get me in guard. If this arm is bent, even though I got the pocket, notice this arm is bent here, it's at about a 90-degree angle, I'm kind of like pulling him in tight like this. Get me in guard. You get his knees in. I'm in guard. However, if I keep this arm rigid and straight, and notice too how I'm corkscrewing it a little bit. Remember, I kind of corkscrew it down as I keep the weight, as I pull in and I keep the weight hard on that foot and drive my opponent across that foot, pushing with my head, pushing with my foot. This is corkscrewing down. And it's going to continue to corkscrew in this position here. So I landed here. I keep this straight. If I get tempted to bend it, I avoid that temptation because I'm going to get in the guard. I keep this way, straight. Kind of move your hip, Colby. Okay. and I keep this up here. I control as long as my weight's on top of him, I'm fine. And then I'm just going to adjust, and I come to the side. More times than not, it's easier to adjust. Not when your partner is turning, or your opponent's turning into you. But after they've done that a little bit, typically people start to turn away. And that's actually the easiest time to transition. You can transition when they're turning into you if you're careful. That's not a big deal, and that's not particularly dangerous, I don't think. But it's somewhat easier when the person is facing or beginning to turn away from you.